Lilo and Stitch is a classic now. My daughter loves it, and I had the chance to take her with me to see the screening of the new film. And the live action version of the original animated film exceeds all my expectations. And I come into this with a lot of trepidation. I'm going to say that for all the live action remakes we've seen, this is the best. And it's not even close, really, if you ask me. The original film is set up so perfectly in a lot of ways to be redone because it feels like something completely different from this live action version. There's something about that original that to me is a classic animated film in that it feels like something you can only capture animated. There are elements of it that work so well as an animated film. And I love that they made the decision in adapting this to turn it into something a bit different. And look, all the pieces are there. All the original pieces of the original animated film are still there, and yet most of them, almost all of them, and yet they've taken them and made them better, and it feels like a more cohesive story and film. And everything worked so well. I think for starters, you've got the fact that the cast is fantastic. Sydney Agudong and Maia Kealoha are both fantastic together. And I will say that where Sydney is down to earth, Maia is the comedy and everything else, up in the air. It feels like she brings the light and levity to this story, where Sydney brings a lot of the heart and family to it. And not to say that Sydney doesn't have some epic scenes. There's a couple of things that she does in this film that I think are phenomenal and, unseen in so many films. I will say right off the bat that when she goes out and does all the surfing scenes are phenomenal, and they add a lot to the story. And it's not a big sequence, but I think it adds so much to the story. And overall, that's what they do so well in this, is that they've taken some of the key moments in the original story and film, and they've made them more important and more vital. And Stitch as an animated character fits into that exceedingly well, which I think is really tough to pull off. But Maia especially has a few key scenes with Stitch that work brilliantly and make Stitch feel completely real. You won't have a moment of like, it's easy to turn your brain off and just sit there and go, oh, this is a real creature. Like, it really feels like this thing has landed on Earth and gone crazy. And so much of the fun is rolled up in seeing Stitch, of course, and his antics, and Maia going along the way. And yet then you get the breaking point when, it's a question of, am I bad? And, the film has a great way of addressing that. I think you can see that in the original, but they have a great way of adapting that, again, to feel more real in this. And it's like, a good person creature can do bad things. And so often it goes above and beyond what you'd expect of this film. It could be enjoyable and be far less effective, and yet it has huge heart, huge storytelling moments. It's a fantastic Disney film. I think it could be considered a new classic for Disney. Even as an adaptation, I think they've gone above and beyond that framework to make it something that's really special. So I know someone who was at the same screening as me, and she was crying, and that's not. I would say a lot of people could walk out of this film with some real, tug on the heartstrings for sure. And my daughter, who's 11, she had a blast with this. She has her, concerns from the adaptation because, of course, she grew up with the original Stitch, and for her, that original film is huge to her. Stitch is one of her favorite characters, and yet she loved this film. She would say for sure that, there were some changes made, that there's a spoilery bit, I think, that I don't want to talk about, that maybe I'll say it in the comments and we'll see. But she did have one concern with one change that felt wrong to her. I think it worked exceedingly well. I really enjoyed it. I'll say it's obvious in the first few minutes of the film, this change they made that kind of works for me. The other side of this is that they brought in a great Hawaiian cast. It feels very authentic. That's from my perspective. I'd love to hear, Hawaiian people say whether or not, this meets their needs, whether they feel the same representation works for them. But it feels very authentic, especially compared to the cartoon, which I think was good, but maybe not 100% authentic. There feels like a lot more authenticity in this film compared to the cartoon and everything else. And, Lilo and Stitch worked well with Elvis and the concept of Hawaii, but I feel like this is more firmly planted in Hawaii. It feels more authentically Hawaiian, which is wonderful. It's great storytelling that feels like you're actually there. It's a bit of a postcard from Hawaii. I know it pulls on me to want to go and visit Hawaii now even more so. And yes, they fit in Elvis. There's not a ton of Elvis, but there's quite a bit. We maybe don't get as much of Stitch as Elvis, but still quite good. I was pleased. If you're a fan of the original, you're going to come into this and you're probably going to love it. It's something different. It's not the exact same thing. It's going to play a little differently for fans. If you're brand new, I think coming into this, whether you know Stitch or not, there's so much to love about this film. You do not need to have seen the original film to enjoy this film. It's fantastic on its own. I loved it a lot. I think it really checks off everything that I'd want to see in a good film, and not just from an adaptation either, that it can fulfill both of new audiences and returning audiences. So check it out. It's in theaters. It's really special. And I really hope that it means we're going to see sequels to this, because if they can hold up that same authenticity, that same character, and the family notes and everything else, I think it could be a fantastic new franchise, and it's a lot of fun. Once you've seen the film, let me know your thoughts. I'd love to hear what you thought of the film, whether or not we agree or disagree, some of your thoughts on casting, characters, anything else. I'd love to hear it in the comments. Leave them down below. Thank you.